Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Two topics for this video. The first one, the United States of America puts down, extinguishes the European Union's / NATO's rebellion. And I will show you how. In the same time, it reveals the sponsors of war and who is in charge. One of the three pillars I was talking about. That's the first one. And the second one, I will show you who is in charge of hurting Russia in the United States of America. We have actually two senators who are, I'm going to disclose who they are, and one of them could be connected with another senator, actually he was a House representative, in 1965, the new Immigration, if you remember, Act of 1965. There were two baboons then who screwed us, if I include myself, that's what these guys do. And now again, two senators. One of them is Mr. Blumenthal. All right, so who wants to sanction Russia in the United States of America? Because they hate Putin and Russia, because their brothers and sisters were kicked out of Russia. So they can't suck Russia dry of its resources and manpower. All right, let's start with the first rebellion. How do you put out a rebellion or put down a rebellion? How do you extinguish, you destroy a rebellion? I tell you how. You walk towards the rebels and you smack them real hard, right? Until they cannot breathe anymore. And that's how you put it down. That's exactly what the United States of America is doing right now. Marco Rubio is going to Brussels right now. Today is the 2nd of April, I think until the 4th, to smack them. Why? Because they think that they will not buy the American arms manufacturing companies' products. Listen to this. Reuters. US officials object to European push to buy weapons locally. What does it mean? You gotta buy our products, otherwise you're gonna get a smackdown. Washington, right? US officials have told European allies, they're not allies, they're just people, as I said, vassal states. They are on the Al Capone's plantation. So they told the European allies they want them to keep buying American-made arms amid recent moves by the European Union to limit US manufacturers' participation in weapons tenders. 5 sources familiar with the matter told Reuters. The messages delivered by Washington in recent weeks come as the EU takes steps to boost Europe's weapons industry while potentially limiting purchases of certain types of US arms. They will not do that. They will be smacked. Got that? And here, I want to show you how they changed the titles, the headlines. Europe's plan to ditch US weapons spooks Pentagon, the report. Now, this is 3 hours ago, today on the 2nd of April, 2025. Remember, so here is too clear. Even the baboons will see who is the military-industrial complex, one of the 3 pillars of profiteers in Ukraine, for instance. So Pentagon, when I'm going to click, and I'm going to click live, you're going to see the title is not the same as here, because here is Spooks the Pentagon, and when I click, no, it spooks Trump administration, not the Pentagon. It was too obvious. So here it is, Newsweek. Europe's plan to ditch US weapons spooks Trump administration report, not the Pentagon. Trump administration is different than the Pentagon. You can say, well, it's the same thing. It's part of the, right? The defense secretary is part of the administration. He is, but he was narrowed down. So if I say you earned a PhD, okay, but the question, in what? In your narrow little field, you went down. Okay, the rest, you don't know shit. I found out that. Okay, so that's with this. They are gonna smack these baboons with what? Threats. They will apply the same threats to the allies, and here it is. U.S. Secretary of State, I told you, Marco Rubio will issue a fresh warning threats to European allies at a NATO meeting of foreign ministers later this week. I thought it was today, the 2nd, pushing for the continent to keep up orders of American weapons, according to a new report. Rubio is scheduled Wednesday. Today is Wednesday, goddammit, I was right. Rubio is scheduled to be in Brussels between Wednesday and Friday. What did I say? Today and 2 days. So it's 2nd to 4th. Why it matters? Why do you think so? Right here. European Union's military-industrial complex. I want to see where the U.S. military-industrial complex is. U.S.'s formidable defense industry. So what it is? The United States is a great manufacturing country. It manufactures weapons. That's our trade. Main trader. Trader. All right, well, how are they going to blackmail these guys? With sanctions, maybe with, a little coup d'etat in certain areas. Why? Some politicians in Europe are these guys' boys. All right, and these boys are here are someone else's boys, and we are at the bottom. We are the bottom feeders. We are the bottom of the food chain. That's what we are. So this is the first topic. Allies. When you hear allies again, remember it is Al Capone, United States of America, and his plantation. The European Union is part of the plantation. NATO is part of the plantation. Okay? So that's the way it is. And then you have one house servant on the plantation. The master, which is Al Capone, lives in a beautiful mansion. And in a mansion, he has one house mansion servant. That is the United Kingdom, the opossum. I call him an opossum, because United Kingdom seems aggressive. You know how the opossum shows his teeth all the time? But he's harmless. The same. United Kingdom is always fighting with other people's lives, not with theirs. Why? They're too strong to get involved. Like the opossum. All right, so let's move on. You got that? That's what it is, vassalage. And we're going to go to the bipartisan right here. The second topic. From the Hill, bipartisan senators introduce primary and secondary Russia sanctions. Okay, someone hates this guy. Who are those two senators? A warmonger and a hater. This is Lindsey Graham, senator, and you have this Richard, don't be fooled by the German name, Blumenthal. These guys introduced legislation on Tuesday, seeking to impose primary and secondary sanctions against Russia if it does not agree to long-lasting peace with its neighboring country, Ukraine, according to our demands, under our terms. But we are losing in Ukraine, okay? We are losing, but somehow we are the mediators. You got it? It's not that. Blumenthal, Lindsey Graham, look at this duo. Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal. I'm going to show you something else. Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965. This is where they got reversed in their immigration. That is, until then, the United States of America had a certain policy that they were accepting more Northern European, and then they said, we accept the other Europeans as well. And then they said, you know what, 1965, two guys showed up and said, let's change that. But that's not going to affect the, the ethnic or racial distribution in this country. It did, and they knew it. Are you going to change it? No. Why? It works for them, for Blumenthal. Blumenthal hates Russia, I think, because his people, his brothers and sisters, were sucking Russia dry of its resources, and they were riding very high from 1918 in Soviet Union until about 1960. And after 1960, they lost control. And then they gained it again after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Orchestrated by whom? I would like you to go and check who were the most oligarchs. Belong to the same guys that lost control and gained control. And then the evil Putin showed up in 2000 and he scattered them in London, Tel Aviv, New York, and all that. That's why they hate him. And they know he knows. And no, he knows that they... So here is Blumenthal. And let me show you something else here. All right, let's read this one. It's called the Hart-Celler Act. Hart is a baboon and Celler is Mr. Blumenthal. I will show you Mr. Blumenthal, but let's go back here. So Mr. Celler, and it's right here. It's called nicknames Hart and Celler. It says that this one changed, pakaraka, makamaka, and it goes down here. Representatives as Emanuel Celler. You see, you don't see legislative history. Introduced in his House of Representatives as H.R. 2580 by Emanuel Celler. This guy, I'm going to show you who this guy is. Right, I will show you. So you see the other one, the other traitor, like here, Lindsey Graham, is just a token, so it doesn't show too obvious. It's not too obvious. The same here with, remember this one? It was too obvious it was the Pentagon. Therefore, they changed it to something else. Remember that one. All right, so let's go here. To the bipartisan, yeah, they changed it to this, remember, to Trump administration report, not with the Pentagon. So here we have one token that I'm going to hide. Blumenthal is going to hide. It's not going to be too obvious. That's him. This is just a baboon. He hates them. I mean, he's on their payroll nevertheless. So let's go back to these guys. So this Emanuel, look at his little early life. Emanuel. Mr. Emanuel, his parents, Josephine, oh, that's French, Müller, that's how she was born as, Müller, and Henry Celler were each the children of German immigrants, right? His parents, they're German immigrants, right there. His parental grandparents and maternal grandmother were... Okay, no, I don't want you to connect any dots over there. But remember, it's bipartisan. And we got Richard Blumenthal. And this guy, his wealth, net worth is over $100 million. I have no problems with the millionaires, but he's a Democrat. And Mr. Democrat Blumenthal, I guarantee you, he wants to tax the billionaires, not the millionaires. Why? Because he is a millionaire. This is how Democrats are usually do it. We are for immigration with a undocumented immigration. But if you tell them, okay, how about you take some 5 families from Guatemala, just cross the border with about 50 kids, you take them in your house for about 10 years, like a sponsorship. You know what they will say? No, I pay taxes. Well, fuck your taxes. How much you pay? No, I want you to really feel the burden, the love the 5 families from Guatemala will give you with 50 kids. That's how they do it. When they touches them directly, you're going to immediately realize, no, out of my place, somewhere else. That's why you have the professors, the teachers, these guys who all are for immigration like that. Why? They think that their jobs are safe. That's the only... Once they say, no, we're going to import about, 2 million PhDs, and we're going to fuck you up here with your professorship. You're going to see these guys all in arms the next day, the university professors. We don't want this immigration. Why? It affects them directly. All right, so let's move on. So Mr. Blumenthal, like Mr. Celler, right there, Blumenthal was born into a American family, okay, right there, just for you. All right, so we got that one covered. My point is this. I think the Mossad's motto, let me find out, Mossad motto is operate through deceit or something like this. So Mossad motto, I think is called. I don't know if it's called motto, but let's do it here. Mossad. Come on, baby doll. Well, let me see. Right there. What's that? By way of deception, is that what it is? Is that by way of deception, you think? All right, nevertheless, that's a book over there, but that's what it is, if I remember correctly. So that's the way it is. The art of war, actually, Sun Tzu says it, and he's the gospel right there. He says that the art of war is the art of deception, and that's true. You pretend you're weak, and then go by the balls. You pretend you're strong when you're like, Anyway, but the bluff goes as far as it goes. When you have to put out, you have put out. So here it is. We have the same deceivers who are going to screw us. Oh, let me show you the one with the immigration thing, because it was something very important. They said, it's not going to change anything. It's not going to, no. It's not going to change anything, we promise. And I'm going to show you the proportion they are talking about here. Are still on? All right, where is it? All right, here. Ram-pam-pam. With the support of the Johnson administration, he was, I think, a traitor too, by my books. Celler and Hart introduced the bill again in 1965 to repeat the formula. The bill received wide support from both Northern Democratic and Republican members of Congress. President Johnson signed the Immigration and Nationality Act of 1965 into law on October 3rd, 1965. Prior to the act, the U.S. was 85% white, with black people, most of whom were descendants of slaves, making up 11%, while Latinos made up less than 4%. In opening entry to the U.S. to immigrants other than Western and Northern Europeans, the act significantly altered the demographic mix in the country. So remember, you, my friends, 85, 11, and 4. Great? Great. Now, if you say, so what's wrong? Then why do you want it changed? When these guys are talking about that, the theory, no, it's nothing like that. 1965 doesn't bring any evidence to support the great theory. It's not a theory. If the facts are over there, if it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, if it fucks like a duck, it's a duck. Mark, mark. Okay? Who wants to impose sanctions on Russia? Blumenthal. Overrepresented, by the way, in the Senate and the House, that Blumenthals and Zelensky-Steins and Blinken-Steins and all those guys. But hey, they are the perpetual victims somehow. Gotta be fucking kidding me. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.